well, I'd like to also kind of develop a bit more the customization of the interface that you can do. Um, so you can, I mentioned before that you can kind of look at all your Windows panels that are currently available here. You can also quite easily move them around just by clicking, holding them, and just dragging them where you want. You'll see that depending on where you place some of these tools, you'll see that some of them will kind of automatically have uh, they'll automatically be open and visible, but whereas these ones that are next to them here, I'll have to click on the icons to expand them. I can always change this if I just nest them in this part of the toolbar as well. Um, if you can also just float them into open space if you want, instead of having them nested as well works, if that works for you. Um, you'll find as well that you can always, if you click on this icon in the top right here, which is next to the magnifying glass here, and there's a chevron. You'll see there's basically a number of presets that you have for different workspace arrangements. So you'll see that if I quickly kind of toggle between them, you'll see 3D. So these will be just more suitable for if you're doing 3D art, motion, again, painting. You'll see that with this, it gives you brushes. So kind of these are like Photoshop defaults, which are very useful just to kind of see what might be most suitable tools for whatever you're working with. So if I return to kind of if I've created a toolbar and I'm kind of not happy with it, or I want to kind of go back to normal, I can always just reset essentials, and it will bring me back to what the default was as well. So so yeah, this is just kind of the default that you would see anyway. So and if you've created a new arrangement and you want to save it, then you need to just click new workspace, and it will give you the option to save it. You just need to name it and save it, and it will save it in this toolbar here, and you can always just quickly return to it. Similarly to the Windows panel, you can also customize a toolbar. So you'll see that there's all these tools here. One thing that you'll notice though is even though I have all these toolbars, there's also a sub kind of menu for each of these toolbars. If I right click on them, there's things like, for example, with the move tool, you'll see there's artboard tool, the lasso tool, there's a number of different options. So if I just right click on these, I can kind of look at the different options here. Alternatively, instead of right clicking, you can just hold a click and then select. Another way is in a similar way that you have these keyboard shortcuts for each tool. If I were to hold Shift and then press the key as well, I can cycle quickly between the different options within each tool. So you can do this for tool switch basically. If I click down here, you'll see there's these three dots here, and this is basically your edit toolbar option. So if I click this, you'll see that it gives me basically a summary of all the different tools that I have nested in here. So if I wanted to change maybe which tools were nested with each one in terms of the groupings, I can always just move these around, drag these and drop these quite easily. I can also change the keyboard shortcuts as well if I want to. So basically, whatever kind of works for you, you can always do that as well. So in terms of editing the keyboard shortcuts, I would go to File. I would go to this top menu bar and then go to Edit Keyboard Shortcuts. You'll see down here, and as you can see, it gives me the options of editing all the different keyboard shortcuts that I have for the different commands. So these could be from for anything. So whether it's like creating a new layer or again the different kind of view options, all these different keyboard shortcuts I can see here. So if you're ever struggling to find what a keyboard shortcut is, you can always look here as well. but if you ever want to change one, you can always do that as well. So useful tool to have there. So next, I'd just like to go quickly over the basic cropping commands that you can use. Essentially, cropping lets you change the size of the image that you've got selected. So you can find this tool in the left toolbar. It's just a crop tool. It kind of looks like two equal angles over the top of each other. You can also just press C as a shortcut to the crop tool. And you'll, as you'll see, once I select that, it will outline the image that I currently have. And if I were to move these kind of boundaries, and then basically tick this tick here in the top, then it will crop the image like so. You can quite quick way of basically choosing what you want to crop. Alternatively, basically, if you want to undo this and return, you can just press Control Z as a basic undo button. And then, if say you wanted to redo, you just press Control Shift Z is your redo. Important thing to note with the undo buttons, you can always check your history. If you have your history panel open, you'll see that your history basically just gives you a list of all the different commands you've put in. It does have a limit to the number of different kind of commands you put in, so about 100 or so. But if you can always change that in your preferences, how many back in time it kind of can go back. You can always quite easily return to the original with this top icon here. So it's a very useful tool if you want to kind of keep the original in mind and always be looking at what you're doing as you go along. One important thing to note with the crop is if I do crop this here, there's a number of options in the top menu. One thing to note is basically this check here is for deleting cropped pixels. So what this will do, if it's checked, it will kind of obviously delete the crop pixels. So this is something that I would probably be better to leave unchecked, because if it's unchecked, it will retain the crop pixels in the file, which means that you're basically working in a non-destructive way. So you can always return to kind of what you're not permanently deleting any information from the file. However, if you do export it as a JPEG, it won't save the cropped pixels. So basically, it's very useful if I want to, if I say wanted to move this image, you'll see if I just select the move tool, you'll see as I move it, it's still got those cropped pixels there, so I can always just kind of return them back into the frame. However, if I cropped it and deleted the pixels, so if I crop it again and then delete crop pixels and then move this image, you'll see that it has deleted the pixels. And basically this checkerboard pattern that you're seeing is transparency, so there's kind of no information there basically. Then I'll return to the history panel, nest that there, and then return to the original by clicking to the top there. One other thing that you can do with the crop tool is that you can crop to a specific aspect ratio. So you can actually see this option at the top here, where you can kind of either reverse the aspect ratio here with this tool here. You can select a number of different presets basically here, which will change the nature of the crop. So this is useful if you know you have a specific kind of aspect ratio that you want, whether it's square or kind of any of these here. You can also input one yourself if you just type in a ratio. If you wanted to do say like 10:9 or anything like that, you can kind of put in here, or you can always just kind of try and drag to your own liking. Another thing you can do is you can if you hold basically Alt or Option key and then drag from there, it will basically drag from the center instead. So this is useful if you wanted to maintain a certain symmetry within your composition. Another thing, kind of the opposite of cropping, that you can do is to increase your canvas size. So you'll want to basically to do this, you'll want to unlock this layer as well. You'll find that whenever you open a new image, the background will be locked, but you can basically unlock it by just clicking the lock icon, or it will basically unlock the layer, which basically means that you can now edit the layer as well, which is obviously very useful. So then you can actually increase the size of this. Say if you wanted to maybe add a border to this image, what you can do is you can go to Image, Canvas Size, and you'll see it gives you the canvas size here already. And you can change, so you can basically just change the size and the anchor of the canvas size. So if so at the moment this is kind of giving me the absolute size. So if I add a certain number, it will kind of add to the total number of length of centimeters. But if I click relative, then it's basically just I can just type in the length of the border that I want. So if I just wanted like a 20 centimeters border on height, width and height, and press OK, it's adding this border for me as well. Again, I can do this again. If I just wanted 2 centimeters extra, I don't need to calculate basically from the absolute. I don't need to add it. I can just do the relative, and it will automatically just do a 2 centimeter border to this image. So if I wanted to maybe add like a white background to this image through this border, I could just add basically a color fill layer. So I go on if I just go on layer and then new fill layer and solid color, I'll just click OK and then just select a white background, and I place this layer underneath. This has just kind of created a fill layer, and it has filled this image background. So now if I were to export this image, I will get a white border to this image, which is what we want. So you'll see, as I mentioned earlier in the session, in terms of saving an image, you can just do this by going to File, Save. Another shortcut is just Control S. If I save this image, I can save it. I'll save it on my computer for now, and you'll see it will give me these options here. I can either save it as a Photoshop file, so I'll do that for now. Always make sure that you do save your original Photoshop file as well. As you can see, as I mentioned earlier at the start of the session, it will save it as a PSD. So what this means is that if I reopen the file, it will reopen it in Photoshop automatically with all the layers saved, which I have ticked here. So I'll make sure I do that, save that as a PSD as well. If I wanted to export it, I would basically select one of these different formats I would want to export it as. So say as a JPEG, and then I can save it as a JPEG. And if I click save, it will give me these options basically to how I save the JPEG. So I can change the quality. So as you can see, there's a slider which goes from low quality to the highest quality. I tend to save it at a quality of about 10. You can do higher if you want. Just depends kind of how big a file you want. It will give you a preview of how big the file will be. So it's important to note that a larger file will be harder to kind of share around. obviously, but a smaller file will also have a lower quality. So it's just about kind of optimizing for what the highest quality you can get is. And if I just save this file, it will save as JPEG as well. But you want to make sure that you've also saved it as a PSD file before that as well, just to make sure that you can reopen it and re-edit it.